set.
I mention it in case they don't, but you can definitely see that because this is a clean feed.
Yes.
Hey, look at that. We're in. Do you think we'll see Grim today?
Okay, so the one map that I was theorizing Grim could be used on a day one league performance would be Border. So I'm hoping that we get to see Grim because the Common Hive Launcher, of course, gives you those spots. Now, I was thinking it could be quite useful around Huffle or in the cubby, or maybe if you want to take some quick control and just lock out the side in half, you use that Hive Launcher to basically stop anybody from rotating back up the metal stairs or to be rotating from bomb site A to bomb site B without you knowing it. But, of course, it's a new operator, and like we've seen with Sense, they weren't used as much either as soon as they were allowed to be played, and still not really into the meta. So, those things, they still need to evolve. They take some time, and teams need to experiment a little bit with them.
BDS. I kind of want to see some of that energy and hype. That was one of the things for me that we were kind of missing on the most recent swing. Obviously, we don't really know the comms and the true calls of where the intel is, but it was definitely a more placid performance from them. Look at this, though. Lickyfack is very quick here. Savage is able to slip his way up the stairs. Doesn't quite get caught out. They wanted to have a very, very quick introduction. This grenade might be the match. Pulls the pin back in, as it seemed like his army wanted to have a bit of an aggressive fight. Groovy is called out on a drone there. They know he's tucked around on the corner. There is still the chance of grenades. There's the stack up here with the support of Shaiko on Iana. They're very quickly trying to take the territory underneath. That's Border. It can be so explosive.
You need to be. It is a very aggressive map, and with that said, it is Secret that takes the first bit of damage. It's Savage that is near the fountain area that takes a little bit of damage. Like Facker now trying to push up onto the back stairs as well. We'll find the first. Sleben taken out. And that is going to be his entry, his first kill of the European League.
Will he get the second? The grenade underneath. There's the pings on the ADS. Doesn't quite get the player. The second. Well, that's also out of place as well. A little bit of a slip pass there from the side of Astro, trying to find himself in a slightly more secure position. The fight underneath the hatch, a pre-fire round. Shaiko's holding it, and it's Savage that gets the header on Shiro. Retakes some of the mantle of control here over the top of East Stairs. Kendrew's tucked on the shield, the ADS for support, and the Azami's offering themselves their own extension as Breday's hold up. Lickyfack, he's trying to offer something round on the close corner here, but well, the longer you wait, the more his army can restructure. Groovy has that support structure, has the rotation underneath as well. BDS, they've stalled out a little, all in separate places. Are they waiting for a 3-2-1, you wonder?
I want to take control of CCTV first, I would assume. So LM's is just going to be waiting here, just holding the flank, making sure no one is going to be able to put up any more damage than they did before. Probably the same for Shaiko. Whereas the rest is trying to take that control, trying to get that information in on CCTV so they can clear out that player there and finally move on afterwards. Now, these are still being tossed in. Shaiko going aggressive now. Knows one is around the fountain. Will pick up that kill onto Groovy. And that is going to be Kendra to respond, though.
And there's a Lems. It's blow for blow, but they've been able to throw themselves inside the side. Astro suddenly all that's left on the far end of CC. They struck from the multiple angles. There's at least one back. It's a 2 versus nobody. A Lems has the cover just to make sure that they couldn't quite get the catch onto that planter. He went for a bit of a sprint, but it's BDS that are able to hop across the first line.
Astro wanted to run past there just to deny that diffuser from going down, but the flank watch was there from BDS, unfortunately for him. And with that BDS, they will find that first round. After, well, a bit of a stall. They managed to get that first kill, then they were kind of stuck, didn't know exactly where to go until Shaiko was able to put up another frag on the board, open up the space a little bit around the archive side. And it's the same sites will be rerun here by Team Secret. The question is, what will they change? Because something went wrong and they need to make sure that doesn't happen again. And that might just be the early death that you had on the backstairs. The east stairs.
BDS, an early opener here. If you're unfamiliar with how Border sort of shaped itself up structurally, usually attackers get off to the better start and a bit of a run. It is something where it was very much compared to old Coastline, or just general Coastline, but it's not on the map pool anymore. So it feels a bit old, where it's thin. It's very quick to the punch. There's a lot of angles that can be watched from one corner of that map, pretty much all the way to the other. You never really know where you're safe, so gunfights are quick and explosive. Here they've got themselves a similar sort of stretch across the top of the board now. You've got a couple of pocket EMPs from the side and a single hard breach. Let's see if they can try and lead in with the same pace. There it is instantly. Lickifak is across supply room, looking towards the bottom of the stair set itself, gives himself an angle, forces the rotate to be a little bit more uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure. Just puts up that pressure, at least lets them know, hey, I'm downstairs already, I'm inside within the first 20 seconds, so you will need to pay attention to me if you want to make sure that you have that safety in rotating. So as he does so, it's Alems with the very first. Sleben picked up, doesn't deal a single point of damage to any of the BDS players, and as they continue to clear out that bottom floor, soon they will be able to put their attention towards the top, as they do take out Astro already, so that's a very quick clear of CCTV this time.
Savage creeping his way around towards the little overlay, the gantry and the prep to walk. He's being cautious. Obviously there was an engagement that was lost just underneath it, but he's slowly and subtly almost been able to retake. That was the door underneath. But there is a player just tucked around the corner. The mute jammer will give him some sense of safety, but how long will that last? This grenade, no safety at all. Just hits the side of the hatch. Looks for the fight and finds it. Shaiko takes the head off of Kendrew. There's the at least one back. He's playing himself for a long time there. Towards those, he says. Savage is waiting for the rappel to come up to the top as well, but BDS have a lot of time here.
They have a lot of time, and they only need to find 2 more members of Team Secret. And they know where Savage is. He's been playing around the office throughout the entirety of this round here. Needs to be taken out first. Groovy will be patching up one of those holes in CCTV, so he doesn't really have to worry about that rotation anymore, at least not without any sound to be created. And you see BDS in the meantime, they're forming a bit of a rotation. They want to be focusing on the armory, so potentially have someone going up onto the rappel window on the side. See, some players up below as well, and as Groovy is looking to take a gunfight here, he might be taken out, and that opens up the complete side if he does.
Caught on a drone, as I said, BDS a lot of time. They're making full firm use of it. Well, there's Groovy, at least able to find a lounge out of it, tucked around on the side of the shield. Savage is on the rotate, maybe he's waiting for a little bit more of a presence to be made on CC door. Groovy finds a fight, Playday suffers on the swing round, but it's Savage that goes down at the end of it, leaving them in a 3 versus 1. Groovy, one of the other new starters here. Going to see if he can try and pick up the final pieces of this round as the breach starts to come through, but 20 seconds, there is still an option and an opportunity, but it's not his. Playday takes the kill, takes the fight, and BDS take the round.
BDS just start running past there with Playday. Being able to pick up that double kill, crucial for them to win that round. And even though they were in a bit more control this round, it wasn't quite super convincing yet. Like, the time was slowly starting to tick down. The 4v2 did come down to that 1v3, and that, like, you know, it was a 2v3 and then instantly the 1v3 afterwards. But there was definitely a big opportunity there for Team Secret to make it go their own way if BDS was just a little bit slower than they were. So they need to make sure they keep up the pace whilst they have that control and don't let it come down to the last couple of seconds. It's an issue that we've seen in other teams as well, where they start overthinking things. Now, I'm not saying that's something BDS is currently doing, it's just something they need to care for if they are in these big advantages, and they just take a lot of time before they start and make their next move.
2 in a row. Secret, they're going to try and find somewhere else to set up shop and have that as their chance in their extension. Bathroom, which fell into a lot of teams' favorite place as a secondary setup anyway. Moved away from vents that became a little bit too quick to the punch, where it used to be pretty solid as a secondary setup. You have yourself 2 options generally, but most teams will do a similar sort of extension over the top. They have a bit of a tuck round. They cut off, obviously, the immediate routes through onto the site itself, but it's a structure that needs to be toppled more than pushed through.
For sure, it's often the top floor control that is... I got stuck in the tire right there. It's unfortunate.
It's a big wheel.
It's a big wheel. It's easy to get stuck on. Now, again, a quick opening into detention. It's basically the theme we've been seeing last 2 rounds. Groovy entered that very quickly, but this time Sleben is around and about. He's aware of the fact that there's quick entries on the side of BDS, and he wants to challenge that at least a little bit to stop them from moving in that quickly.
Wow, Shaiko getting all the intel that they want, sees the rotation, doesn't see the player tucked in the corner. Kendrew's able to remove them and actually moves in. Wants to try and make himself a little bit more of a presence as you start to see BDS putting pressure over the top floor. This is very quick from them once again. They're looking for this very early entrance into an engagement possibility with Secret. Something, as we said before in the previous split, was a little bit lost, a little bit away and out of their reach in the games that they suffered. Groovy finds Renshiro though, gets the opener. Shaiko almost follows him. I assume that was from Kendrew, who's pulling himself back out of construction. On the workshop side, no, he's still, around that area. Tucked himself onto the corner. Lucky in the meantime, might find himself between two players.
Is he aware of that? Is going to be the big question. Well, Kendra at least has been spotted out by one of these Gemini replicators, and thus the fallback comes true. They have the opportunity to try and pinch that player inside of the workshop, and thus the rotation comes through. Two players currently on the site. The rest is Secret. He's all around it and about it on the top floor, just making sure that that verticality will not fall in the hands of the French squad.
Lems, he's waiting for a bit of a gift here, but the only one he gets is probably one he wants to return. Smoke canister pushes him a bit further back, has to reconvene, holds himself back off with the body disadvantage, and Shaiko suffering. They're going to have to go for a plan B. The first time we've seen a big pick up, and wow, that doesn't quite work out either. Astro held off the close angle, ready for them to approach the double door. A straight route through onto the site is covered by the flash. They're looking for the next engagement towards those barricades, and Liquefact doesn't quite get the full connection. They know he's close. That flash is going to go over the top, and Playday goes down the bottom, takes care of Savage. Shaiko is going to get picked back up, but Kendrew locks it all down, round on the swing. The UMP does the work, and suddenly we've got the other new boy in a clutch situation as we had from the others. Here it is. Close. Gets that. Very good pickup there. It's 20 seconds though, and 2 stories and a 2 versus 1 with no kit. It is pretty much an impossible situation at this point. He's going to do the best with what he has, but it's just down to the defenders really to throw at this point. Tucks himself close. The drop comes through. The pre-fire and the spray. There's one. He's looking for the next. He doesn't quite know where they are. They've dropped. He's going to hold himself. Astro, he pulled back. He played it with caution. He's waiting for the timer to tick out. They're just off. He went for the pre-fire. I mean, it was a split second off, but
he went for the pre-fire. Unfortunately, the time ran out there. I think he even had the opportunity to stick that plant and get it down on the ground before Astro was able to put some lead towards his way there. And the timeout's still called by Team Secret.
It was well put together by a player that a lot of people have a lot of eyes on. It could have been a different story, and Secret want to make sure that it's far from a could have been. They need to make sure that a round is unquestionably theirs, and one that they're able to take here. Again, only getting a couple on your defense on border isn't the most outrageous thing, but it was almost looking like a rotation of 3 there, because if we recall, it was a 3 versus 5 that BDS almost bit back there.
Yeah, it was. There was a massive advantage for Secret, and almost they lost it out there, so you definitely want to, you know, shut that down before it becomes any worse than it is, and make sure you find the next couple of rounds on the defense as well. Now, as we continue, we are headed towards the customs. There's the direct window. There's also the detention, which, you know, they continue to use as the very first entry point in 2 of the last 3 rounds. It has been locked off this time because it is a direct entry towards the side, of course. And you probably have to see BDS adapt now. They need to go for a different entry this time, and I'm wondering what that will be. I'm expecting something like the bathroom, for example, or maybe even a direct take from the detention side.
Okay, Secret. Can they have a change of face and force after that timeout? BDS, they're still looking at applying the pace, the role of the Thatcher, and the role of the EMP goes for the pull. They've gone for the claw, but that one's caught out too, and the wall will breach and break. Both claws caught out, and obviously not one used on the other side, because to be fair, if the door's still standing, you'll get it open anyway. It's Savage that gets Renshiro though. Twice in a row, Renshiro's been the first name off the board. The E1D's removed before they can even really pop and pull some pressure. That's why it doesn't really matter what you do on the other wall. As long as that door is standing, that wall can fall regardless of what's on it.
It might even be a good idea to just open up that door by default. It's not something teams often do, but, you know, you can electrify it all you want, but if that door is still standing, that barricade, it's always going to be opening up. So, with that, they have the 2 openings they need. Now they just need to find the kills on the side of BDS if they want to be pushing towards the side. And, well, Savage took a bit of damage, but he has a hatch for an easy drop back towards the site. Shaco misses a very easy kill, what should have been on Kendrew.
But he is inside the site now, and that's going to be a little bit of cause for concern. They have the vertical control. They can try and shut it down, and Kendrew and Groovy do just that. There's 2 apiece. I think Kendrew was inside the site, but look, in fact, was locked down from a player above, a 5 versus 2. This is what I talked about before. I said Secret don't want a round to be a little bit close. They want to be in full control. They almost lose at least one body, but they know exactly where Playday is. And he's got the kit in minute 15 to see if he can try and make anything happen with it. Wouldn't be the first ace clutch of the day, let's put it that way, but it would be a very surprising one just the same.
For sure, there's no way that Team Secret should be losing out on this current situation here with a minute left to go. But Playday, he has been known for his clutches, especially when he just joined the lineup. Now, doesn't spot out the head of the Jaeger there, so we'll continue to go unnoticed here. 50 seconds left on the clock. It's looking very unlikely, and with every second that passes, his job will become even more impossible, especially with how spread out Team Secret currently is. Finds the first, though, as he needs to find 4 more, but he's about to be swung on by 3 different angles here, from the bathroom, from the hallway, and the customs itself. So he decides to go for a bit more of a passive angle. 30 seconds, the time's still ticking down.
But look at how Secret's rotated themselves. They've pulled further back into the bathroom so they can swing from the other side. They're stacked up waiting for exactly that approach. And they didn't quite know where they was because they also still had vertical. They also still had these power positions. As I said, it wasn't very likely. A Secret round there. They bite back. They find their second in a row. They tie things up with 2-2. They still have more opportunities here to try and drive this a little bit further into their favor as we head back to the site where they lost it twice. Armory Lockers and Archives, can they try and really right their wrongs here on where BDS picked up both of their rounds?
Now, if you look at the overall standings of the year, these 2 teams are fighting a very different fight here. BDS, of course, wants to qualify for the 6th Invitational, which they can do. For Team Secret, it's mostly like try and get out of that bottom 3, make sure you make it to the middle of the pack, and maybe, you know, like Rogue did last year, make it to a major as a bit of a bonus to it. So there is different fights going on for these 2 teams, and Team Secret being able to pull up these last 2 rounds is great for what the future of this roster might hold. There is a lot of potential here that we can already see, and kind of hope that we get to see more of it throughout this game. As of yet, they have a good chance of winning it if they continue playing like they're currently doing.
Okay, BDS, what can you do here? The sight and the difference is one you've driven. Can you try and pull some of this game back into what was very much yours in the early opener here? Since then, we've started to see a bit more of a spark of life on the side of Secret, something that has been kind of cruelly ripped away. Shaco obviously hasn't really been able to get his teeth in, Renshiro even less on this. And Lucky Fact, well, he's currently on a 2.0 KD, so kind of all the complaints in the world, but still, with how much promise there was there, these are the players that everybody's going to have their eye on.
Of course, double Claymore. Also opening up that window just to bait out a bit of a jump out. Like, hey, we did the work for you. All you have to do is just press that spacebar, not knowing you'll be jumping into that double Claymore and to certain death. Now, Astro looking to go for a bit of contest outside towards the balcony. Shaco will find Groovy, however, that will make them think twice about what they're potentially going to be doing on the outsides of the map. Don't want to lose any more players to BDS that are currently seeming to just hold some angles, looking to find any aggressive players on Team Secret, punish them as a result, so you have an easier fight on the site later on.
They're just trying to hold them at arm's length here. Sleben tucked round with the keeper barrier for a bit of support. There's pressure from either side, though, and Astro's here to offer some of his own. The swing round is scrappy, but it's locked in. Shaco gets one. Lucky Fact is able to get a very quick response, though. Now can Sleben keep himself alive? He suffered on the scrapes of the damage. The pressures come from multiple different sides, but you look at what's been removed there. A couple of grenades, a couple of that pressure. Groovy and Astro on the other side, and now Sleben too. Tried to hang in. It's at least one back in their favor here, Secret, but once again, this round is starting to be pulled away from them with what is an entirely different approach to the previous rounds for BDS.
Just too much aggression on the side of Team Secret. They're swinging everything as BDS is just holding on to some of these angles, looking to punish these players, and have done so successfully. Savage somehow managed to come out alive right there. Otherwise, we would have found ourselves in a 3v1 situation now. So luckily for Secret, they have the extra men available to fight now, so either side is currently covered off. But they need to be careful, because if BDS decide to just go for a single site, which seems to be the Archives, and with someone still being in CCTV, it's going to be almost near impossible to rotate back.
Well, there it is, the tuck round towards the site. Kendra, you assume that hatch might be open, so we can try and pull that Echo drone up through 2 stories. There it is, ready in position to hope they go for a touch plant, and he can play against it with a limited time left. There it is. The plant is going down. They should be able to pick up this and go like that, and then no, they miss it. The cover came through, they didn't quite have the right angle, and there it is, a post plant as a grenade pops off. Kendru's all that's left, but not for very long. BDS 3 for 3 on taking Armory.
They continue to take these top floors. As you just mentioned, they're back in the lead of this game, and now round 6. Last opportunity for Team Secret to try and find themselves a 3rd round as well. Bathroom and Tellers coming up next. Needing to be the difference maker for them here. Needing to win that to make sure you equalize that scoreline. Put yourself on the advantage when you head over to the attack yourselves.
Yeah.
And that last round, I think they were just too aggressive, Emmy. They were swinging outdoors. Like, first of all, the spawn peak fills, or at least like the fight towards the outside fills. You lose 1 player, okay. But BDS at that point, you could have seen it. They're all just holding different kind of angles, trying to put some pressure down, force these Secret players to move right into their own crosshairs. So if they would have stuck, then a lot of time would have been wasted right there. BDS wouldn't have been able to move any further. It would have been some sort of stalemate in that fight, which eventually will be won, of course, by the defense if time runs out. So forcing BDS to move into your crosshairs at that moment in time. But they were a bit too eager. They were just running through the doorways, bumping into each other, allowing BDS to pick up 2 easy kills as a result, and suddenly you find yourselves at a man disadvantage. And, well, with the time running low and BDS able to cut down the sites in half, it's not looking good for you.
Likefak. He has been pretty good so far. I think that's a fair thing to say. We said it at the start of the previous round. He's only on a 2.0 KD. And then he said, oui, but now...
That's a bit more.
I mean, that's it. He's just really started to step in there as the second sort of response to the first problems going wrong. It was just so sudden and, you know, fought their way through. It's something that you definitely want to see from the new pickups. Astro and Groovy, they've had little moments of their own. There were big boots to fill, but it's a big frag game when you're up against a roster like BDS. And when they have a new big fragger, it's one of those big potentials. The spray comes across the board. Once again, LM's trying to apply some pace here. Obviously, this was the side where it got pretty close of the ones that was played before, in fairness. And it started off with BDS losing 2 players, putting themselves in a pretty tricky situation with time steadily ticking.
Now, BDS is just using CCTV here to cut down the east stairs, to cut down the hallway as well at the very same time, just to ensure themselves that rotations become limited for the side of Team Secret. And that means that your information stays valid a little bit longer, because if you spot someone, well, you know there's only one way out, and that would be the hatches in those rooms, which have been opened up, by the way. So there will definitely be a way back towards the site as soon as this round progresses. Shaiko comes into the first gunfight, unable to connect though, but a grenade might find it instead.
Over the top and drop. Doesn't quite rock the world of Savage. Sleben is able to find Lems though. Removes him. The second definitely does. Popped on the back of the wall. They almost suffer on the slip through there, but they're fighting desperately. Astro is able to find Playday, and there's a Territory and takes the fight, but doesn't get the confirmation. Likefak does find Kendru. And now what can they do with the rest of this Likefak? Yeah, he's looking to put the pressure there onto the castle.
There's 2 players behind that castle barricade near the east stairs here. Sleben just moved back through the rotation. I kind of like this because you give yourself a safe way back into that side, but as soon as the castle barricade falls, you lose that one as well. 1 player spotted in the bathroom. They know where these last 3 players are now, but do still lose out on the gunfight there. It's a great pick from Sleben, but Rensure will be able to reply, and suddenly the site has fallen. They now need to retake that top floor if they want to stop this plan from happening.
Wow, it seems like they had an idea of it for a second, but they only had a second left, and it's a 2-story watch, the reverse as it was before the E1D. will buy them a little bit of time. The pings are coming through. Some hefty pings in the spray through. They've crept onto it. Sleben with the pre-fire. They can't quite get the angle. They're watching either side. Renshiro somehow wins it out against Sleben. And it's Groovy able to get one back, a 1 versus 1. Shaiko on the second story. The smoke trying to stop the player. He wants to give himself a sneaky little angle here just to get the long arm defuse. It's a very clever ploy, but he's not getting the pop-up. The second canister will be the one that buys him the time to not quite get it. Shaiko, he locks in, puts us over to the 4-2.
Smart attempt there, actually, trying to find yourself an angle that way, like smoking off the one way it could have been shut down if the long arm through the wall would have worked, but I think he had to go for a shotgun shell there if he wanted to do so. Of course, it kind of gives away the game, and we'll let Shaiko know that that is currently happening, but the smoke canisters in that position would have taken him out with the amount of HP he had. So like the attempt, just unfortunate for him, it did not succeed. And we will find BDS leading 4-2. Now headed over towards the defense themselves to see if they can do a better job at holding on to these sites and make sure that there's no plans happening.
Secret obviously already used their tack timeout and mixed results since then, obviously pulling only 1 round either side of that timeout itself. So there's a lot of work to be done here. BDS, they've been able to build themselves a nice little nest egg of rounds, but as I said very early on, a 4-2 for the attackers on border isn't the most uncommon thing.
No.
We've seen it swing either way on Playdays today. We've seen it swing either way on border in history.
I mean, we've even seen 6 rounds of the defense being turned around and the other way as well, so everything can happen. It's, again, always a game with 2 sides. But yeah, 4-2 for the attack is the norm normally. As Shaiko does go for a bit of a swing, and we'll find Savage really far away.
I mean, he threw himself out of a run out and he was able to net a kill from the other end of it. Astro's looking for a quick response, but it's Groovy that suffers next. Shaiko does take half his damage. Some explosions pop around the corner. Shaiko, he's got some support there from his army barricades. He's got Astro underneath the hatch. This is what we talked about, the quick response. Does Shaiko know? It only takes a second and now half of a grenade to be able to get the end kill on him. He doesn't want to pull the pin because the audio might give it away. He needs the pressure to be applied elsewhere and try and force the player into the rotation or into a tricky situation. The longer he waits, the more likely he's been able to get this kill. There's the pull on the pin, and that's why Shaiko runs away, pulls himself to a new location. He knew he was being watched, and he's not going to play that game.
Definitely not. That's the first grenade gone. Knows there's a bit of safety now, but it can actually use this as a bit of verticality, trying to find Astro below. Second grenade to be tossed in. Pings are only just coming in a little bit too late, but now Shaiko has this verticality. He can shut down anybody out there if he really wants to take that fight. And well, with Groovy opening up with the sledgehammer as well, that is just the wrong timing. He still finds the kill though.
Well, Shaiko was a little bit slow to start on this game, but he's starting to slow down anything Secret does. Likefek is able to then find Sleben as the handshake, and both players remove 2 players from the opposite side. Leaves just old head Kendrew and new head Groovy to try and piece things together. At least find Renshiro. He's taken off the board. No more barricades from the pockets of Renshiro, but there might still be pressure that can be applied here. They've stacked themselves up, and look at this. There's somebody trying to say hello, opens themselves an angle and loses to it. Alem's caught by a swing round. Didn't expect Kendrew to be so close.
It did definitely open it up there. Shaiko that went down by Kendrew. That's a very long angle. Yeah, I was going to say, was quite confused how he went down there, but that is going to be Likefek gone as well. It's only up to Playday now in a 1v2 clutch. Now, if there's any man you want in a 1v2 clutch situation, it is Playday on that smoke. He is one of those gods with the SMG. He still has a smoke canister left, which he uses on the door. However, there is still that opening onto the actual wall itself that he now needs to cover off with his SMG.
You can see they're prepping. They know exactly where he is. They want to throw this flash and move behind it. That's what they do. The burn, the swing. It's Playday for the first. He cannot find the second. Groovy just locks in the round there for Secret. A 2 versus 5 to a 1 versus 1.
Well done there by the side of Team Secret. Really managed to pull that round back into their own advantage there. So all you can do is commend them for it. As the attack prevails yet once more on Armory Lockers. Now BDS, they are well aware that they should have won that round. They went too aggressive on multiple occasions. Lems, for example, just punching that wall, knowing exactly both of those players are going to be on that balcony, that is just a bit silly, you have to say. You're going to be losing your life because you punch, it takes a couple of seconds or like a bit of time before you can get your gun back up. It's enough time for the player on the other side to turn around and flick upon you. These players all have the skill to do so, so a bit unfortunate there to lose out on a round that way. And of course, there was 3 more players on the side, which is picked up and isolated one by one as the angles were being cut slowly but steadily by Team Secret. But that's a round that shouldn't have been lost by BDS.
I think that's something that they'll obviously have as a bit of a bitter pill to swallow, but Secret, you're a team that's been able to sneak out and squeak out games when they have had the force of favor go against them. So now's their time to reclaim that. See if that's a property that carries over even with roster changes. A catch out. BDS, they still have a catch-all, they still have a time to talk about this as well. You've always got to see how a roster handles when it gets knocked too, as well as when it's successful.
Now there is an Amaru on the board, and there's a Glass as well. Also on the board as well from Kendrew, so I'm kind of intrigued where this is going. This could be a very quick plant. Together with the Amaru coming in from the sandwich window.
This is
exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, the Ossa Shield's going to go down the cover of the smoke to make sure that they can catch it. They're going onto sandwich window as well. The engagement's there, so they can just plant behind the Ossa Shield if they want it, but they don't want it. They're going very deep with the Ossa. They pull away from the default place here. Suddenly it's a 4 versus 2, and well, it's a 4 versus 1 because the Glass is the watch down of the smoke. They expect it on one side. There's one. There's no more. And that is a pocket plant that I have seen and ran myself.
I was going to say, the Ossa, the Glass, that is going to be telling you a plant's going to happen behind that shield. The Amaru, definitely going up the sandwich window to put up some pressure and suddenly strike them from the back as well as panic starts to occur within the Team BDS camp. And we're all equalized now, 4-4. Team Secret managed to pull a very quick round onto the lockers area. Now, BDS, they reran that because they realized, okay, that's a round we should have won back in round 7. So they do the same thing. They set themselves up again. They want to play more passively. And as a result, a quick rush comes in and there's nothing they could have done there. Just shut down before that round even started properly. And Team Secret, a good call made from the shot caller.
So, Secret, as I said, they sometimes have this habit of not really knowing when they're beat, and that's an energy that takes a lot of teams by surprise. It's that situation that they've always floated in as underdogs. You don't always have the biggest expectation of them, and it's something that other teams they've gone up against have noted, have sort of brought together. And here, it's just that plucky nature of refusing to give up on a game that was a big problem for them that's turning into a little bit of a consistent solution. 4-4. BDS, as I said, still have their attack timeout, and it is still Secret leading onto their attacks. There is success there, but we're starting to see those slight smiles turn into cheers on the team cams. Can they turn into celebrations?
I mean, I said it before, Team Secret, if they continue playing like they did after they did manage to get their first 2 rounds in, have a really good opportunity of beating BDS here. And well, as we are all equalized now, both teams needing 3 rounds to pull up the 3-pointer here, with about 4 to go before we head towards overtime. So it needs to be quite convincing, but it's definitely doable here, especially if you manage to get yet another round on the board, especially if you put that 5 on the board first. Is that going to be a grenade throw from Savage? He knows exactly where Inshiro is.
Well, that's it. It's a slightly different setup as they had before. Obviously, this position was played previously by Shaiko. Inshiro played the role in the operator, but somewhere else. This time, they're not going to stick around and find out exactly what's going to happen. They're looking for a slightly different approach here, and it seems like Secret wanted to go for a more aggressive take towards the Shaiko position as it was played before. But Savage and Sleben taking scrapes over the top. Alems meeting them from the far end of office. This is what I said about this map. It becomes one where the firefights are really point-to-point, corner-to-corner. You need a map out and a stencil to mark out exactly where you're going to set up your angles. But Kendrew has been practicing his trigonometry, and now he's going to see if he can try and put down more bodies on the back end of it.
Of course, we are not fighting over that top floor, but it is what they want to take under control first, because verticality is so important for plans in this area. And as long as players are around that have shotguns or impacts or any other form of explosive, you never really save, as Likafak is going to be able to put up a double kill on the board with his SMG.
Likafak, he's able to keep finding himself back into these rounds, and which is kind of good actually, because you say that after him being a bit quiet for a couple, with the comparison of how he was on his attack. One of the things that we actually talked about when, you know, we started to see Spoit come in to this. He was fantastic on attack, but when things came to defense, he got a little bit quiet, a little bit shy. You want to make sure from the side of Likafak that he's able to lead in the pressure from directly above. Nets him one more. Just catches the tail end of Savage there at the end of the spray of the SMG. And Secret, they're scrambling around. The kit needs to be recollected in the 4 versus 2.
He's on for a potential ace here as well right now on his debut in the European League. He manages to isolate these last 2 players. He's basically the centerpiece of the defense of BDS right now. Playday will be the first one they meet. It's going to be the Legion Mine that gives it away. Grimmy goes for a team kill onto Sleben before he gets taken out himself. Well, he got stuck in the goo mine. He 180'd, one-tapped his teammate, and then got shot by
I was going to say, he definitely didn't shoot him by accident. Well, okay.
He shot him by accident.
He shot him by accident, but not like a crossing fire lines accident.
No, this was a bit of a too much of a flick. Like, you wanted to flick on the player probably that he thought was engaging him, but it happens to be his teammate.
It happens to be his friend. It happens. It's frustrating, but it happens, and it's a frustrating round for the side of Secret there. As I said, from the side of their cams, it turned to celebrations, but those do turn to commiserations pretty quickly. BDS, they know how important this first game is. Let's be honest, the previous performance from them was a bit of a shock to them, to us, to everybody. For the first time, not really seeing them have an appearance, not seeing them have an appearance at a major as well, isn't something that we've written about their story. Although they haven't always been so locked in on the grandest stage, they are usually locked in to get there.
I mean, we kept on saying it. It might be good for BDS to miss out on a major at least around this time, because we clearly saw them struggle, right? European League Stage 2 clearly wasn't their stage, and I'm still pretty sure that if they would have made it to the major, no changes would have happened. So if this is what brings BDS back to the top of Europe again, it might actually be beneficial for them to miss out on the Berlin major, even though it might have hurt at the moment. So only time will tell, of course. All we can do now is speculate and theory craft about what could have been and what would have been. What we do know is that this R0, if that would have been a little bit earlier, could have picked up the first kill.
Well, definitely removes some of the stranglehold they had on that corner. 2 big bits of utility taken out very quickly. The second finds the castle. And that means Alems is playing what turned in a challenging position to a tricky one here. There's going to be a cacophony of noise as the pressure starts to come through. A lot of pings on that player, waiting and hoping that he slips into a tricky sort of angle. Astro, he's battening down the hatches of CC, forcing Alems into that position, means that they can take that movement. He doesn't have the safety to try and swing onto the side of the door to put pressure onto break. So here, Secret's free to do this, to put their own pressure onto the side of Fountain. And look at this, there's an attempt there to stop it, and it's very well put together. Likafak, he's making his presence known and then quickly pulls away with the Oryx dash.
A small opening has been made though, and that will allow them to put up some pressure towards the Fountain area, but it's not going to be walkable. They still need to use an extra piece of heart breach if they want to be going through. Not quite sure. I believe Kendrew still has 1 extra Selma in pocket, but they need to make sure that metal staircase is under control. No more Selmas actually in pocket for Kendrew. So they will not be able to use that to go through because they open up the actual CC wall first. So with that, they need to go through by, you know, walking around it now.
Just over a minute here. BDS, they can throw themselves onto map point. The longest I think we've had all 10 players on the board though, and that might turn into a bit of pressure here for the side of Secret. They've got to put together something short, sharp and fast, and Kendrew's going to be the tip of that. Swings wide, takes Shaiko inside the bathroom. A bit of a push on the far side of CC as well, with Likafak still dabbling around that core metal stairs area. He's hoping somebody goes for a rotate and a drop round, but he is Oryx. He has the option to try and jump up that hatch if he feels safe and steady enough to do it. Alems puts them into the 4 versus 4. Astro instantly puts a quick response down. They'll know where he is roughly, and I think Likefak is... Oh, he's looking for the angle through. Playday puts them in the 3 versus 3. Playday puts them in the 3 versus 2. A great take onto the window. Kendru's going to see if he can stick the plant with the single body as cover. Pulls off as he hears a bit of audio, though. But look at the timer, 15 seconds. They've got to try and act now, regardless of what they do. Groovy, he's rotating around now. He's dropped himself down. They're going for a flat cover here. The chance on the plant comes together. There's a bit of a break, but there is Likefak, and there is Playday to lock it off. And BDS push themselves onto map point.
Have to say, Playday and Likefak really on fire for the side of BDS here. Playday has been a bit quiet over the last stage as well. He wasn't the same Playday from back when we used to call it BDS, when he mentioned to, or it might have just been me that called him BDS, but back when he managed to clutch it so often. And it's not even that he's clutching now. He's just running into the site, killing people as he does, and retaking it as well as soon as the diffuser's gone down. And it will put BDS into this position now where they have 2 match points against Team Secret. 2 opportunities to put 3 points on the board and start their run for the next major.
I mean, this is it. You talk about the importance of those precious points on the first Playday. And let's be real, there's teams that you expect to see in the top 4 fighting for those positions, and there's teams you don't. Secret, they haven't been one of those top 4 teams. BDS have been until recently. And if they want to find themselves back in that, then they've got to make sure that these games against those teams that might not be are the ones you have to cement the full points from. No half measures, because your opponents racing for the top of the board aren't going to be doing the same.
They're definitely not going to be holding back for you, right, to let you catch up. So it's better to take matters into your own hands. But I have to say, even though Secret might be 2 rounds behind now on Team BDS, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for growth within that team, and wouldn't be surprised if they turn into a mid-table team at the end of the stage.
Shaco waits and waits and waits, but he's already caught 1 player out from an early approach here. He's hoping he gets rewarded with a second, but it seems like there's a lot of focus being paid, and he's actually pulled off by the time Sleben finally arrives. Pops open for the swing, and the attention paid towards the top of the eastern stairs, and Kendru already setting up some pressure on the far side as well, but it's Likefak that finds Groovy. Gets that early engagement. Kendru suffers next on his approach round on the far side of the stairs, I think angling towards office.
Now, Kendru, who has been quite of a good game himself as well, 10 kills. He's looking to keep Team Secret in it. That's going to be 2 keeper berries gone with a single blast. It's going to be putting up a lot of pressure suddenly into CCTV if they follow up on it. But you have to remember, Shaiko's still in it. And he's playing around a pillar. And if you know Shaiko, when he's around the pillar, when he can dance around hard cover like this, that's when he's at his most lethal, because he's probably practiced these flicks like 1,000,000 times and will always manage to hit the head accurately.
Well, they're burning the pressure. He's got the scent that they have his scent and his number, so he just tries to shake it off a little.
Oh, the suppressor.
Oh, that's a bit of a reveal. The suppressor, and Alems gets a bit of revenge there against Astro and gets a little bit more. Swings round. Savage finds Shaiko, gets CC, but Alems keeps the eastern stairs his, and Savage is now all that's left for Secret's hopes inside this game. A 3 versus 1, over a minute left. He's looking for the first engagement. Sprays either side of the shield there. Dodging, dipping, and diving. Alems wants a 4K and an even KD for his troubles for this game, but slips his way back and offers some support towards the site because he knows, okay, it's nice to have the 1.0, but it's nicer to have the 3 points. There he goes, Savage. Peppering some pre-fire. Able to take care of Alems and starts to finally find his way inside the building. The kit just tucked round onto the corner itself. He should be able to get the recollection of it as it was caught out, but there's still a lot left to do and no real structural work to the site has been done.
RC Retiro coming out will be a bit of information gathering, but also opening up a new avenue for DeFlores. And Playday will realize that, will start to rotate out as well. Has gone unseen so far, but now needs to hope that Renshiro is able to stay alive. And as he goes for a swing, well, they know he's behind the A-bomb chassis now. This might be problematic, but the smoke canister should be able to stop this. Savage now knows where Playday is. He's trying to swing around the corner, but he gets picked up by Renshiro. They played off each other's contact, and that way they will still lock out that 1v2. But we've seen so many clutches happen today, wouldn't have been surprised if that one ended the other way around as well.
Smiles on the face of BDS, and out of the two teams with the debut, there was only really going to be one of the two teams that's able to smile on the end of it. Likefek, he's able to step up in his first game. I believe he's MVP. I'd be surprised